Our childhood games are powerful. Not in the sense that they changed the world or anything, but in how they shaped us as people. They taught us lessons we didn't understand the weight of. They gave us a space where we could feel control. They let us believe we were heroes, even if just for an afternoon. Despite these feelings, it isn't always easy to go back and play these games. What once felt magical as a kid may now feel, well, dull. Sometimes the worlds we were amazed by just don't live up to the memory. It's as if they now load in with visible seams, a reminder that you can't relive what once was. Maybe that's the magic of it though. Revisiting our old favorites forces us to reflect on ourselves. Where we are now versus where we were. This can be comforting or disconcerting. The difference can be a very fine line. To understand why, I ask myself this. How do our childhood games hurt and heal us at the same time? It can be incredibly comforting to boot up a childhood favorite. After all these years, the game hasn't changed a bit. Your perspective might be different, but the same polygons have been there all along, just waiting for you to come back. There's a certain warmth that bubbles up, nostalgia from a time long past. I can load up Mario 64 and feel myself transported back to the simpler time. A time without responsibilities, bills, or all the other bullshit that comes with being an adult. It's wild how you still remember the music, beat for beat, the menu layout, every little sound effect. It's like the game nested in my brain years ago and never left. Eventually, these old games become more than just entertainment. They're a return to a different mindset. Back when we believed about cheat codes that let you see Bigfoot or some shit, I was a gullible kid. But that naive excitement? That was part of the magic. The nostalgic pull isn't just in the game itself. It's in the simplicity of coming back to something that doesn't need to surprise you anymore. We don't play these games looking for new secrets. Well, at least I don't. The joy is now in the familiarity. In stepping back into a world that once felt enormous and mysterious, but now feels just like home. And in that home, muscle memory kicks in. You don't even have to think. Your hands know what to do. Every movement, every sound, every rhythm is embedded in your brain. You're not just playing a game, you're revisiting a part of yourself. Suddenly, you're 10 years old again, lost in summer vacation or a late night sleepover, wrapped up in something that felt bigger than it really was. These games are mental landmarks. Little emotional pins tied to joy, freedom, and the comfort of repetition. They aren't cozy because they're simple or cutesy. They're cozy because they remind you of who you were when life was simpler. And that feeling doesn't fade because the game is old. If anything, it gets stronger. The textures might be rough, the graphics outdated, but who gives a shit? These aren't just games anymore, they're time capsules. Places to retreat to when everything feels too chaotic. In a world that always demands more growth, more change, more hustle, old games give you something rare. And that's the permission to just exist. And that is absolutely beautiful. It's the consistency of the revisit that really resonates with me. These time capsules, as I've mentioned, are unchanging. It's nice not to have to try so much. And after that Counter-Strike video I put out, I needed the comfort. In these unchanged landmarks of our history, there's almost a sacred order. These games made us into who we are, even if in subtle ways. To platform as Mario is as familiar to me as the back of my own hand. I grew up with an N64, an NES, and a PS2, so these consoles live rent-free in my heart. The games that I played growing up aren't here to judge or challenge me. They definitely aren't here to make me pay bills. They just exist in the same old way, and that is so comforting. My memory of my childhood games isn't always accurate, but that's not the game's fault. It's probably my own gray matter just betraying me, if anything. Some of the best gaming experiences I had were as a child. To revisit that is like coming home after a long work day. A sense of relief washes over me, and for a second, I'm almost a kid again. To be a child again would be lovely. While it might be considered unrealistic, or hell, even delusional, it's definitely possible to enter that space again. In gaming, the space is open for the taking. And for brevity, I'm going to refer to returning to old games as the revisit. During the revisit, I found myself transported back to a time when I felt safer. A time when the worries of the world were distantly in front of me and I had no concept of them. Instead of the worry, anxiety, or depression, I enjoyed a chipper mood as I struggled through levels of my favorite games. The peace I felt as a kid is something I chase, but generally can't obtain. Only through the revisits I feel that calm, even if only for fleeting moments. Games just have a way of transporting you to the past. I think it's because of the interactivity each level provides. You are in a different virtual world. You're free from the pressure of reality. The escapism is real, and these games often provide feelings of strength or importance. And I think as a child, it's important to feel these things while you're developing. To slay a titanic boss provides such a feeling of positive self-worth that I can't imagine growing up without it. When I beat Bowser for the first time, I felt like an absolute G, and that's just priceless, man. As incredible as it felt to beat a difficult boss as a kid, It doesn't compare to the memories that come flooding back. The revisit brings up feelings and moments I hadn't thought about in years. While playing Pokemon Snap for the N64, one story in particular came rushing back. I was maybe 9 or 10, out in the woods with my cousins and siblings, when we stumbled into a clearing that led to a road lined with houses. In front of us stood a group of other kids. So, as kids do, we started yelling at them, only for them to return fire with chunks of asphalt ripped from the road. We threw trash, sticks, rocks, anything we could get our hands on. It turned into a full mini war, and it was goddamn barrels of fun. One of the kids was so into it, she started digging through the trash can and flinging garbage at us. It's a story I had completely forgotten, one that might have never surfaced again if I hadn't played Pokemon Snap. I have no idea why my brain linked that game to this story. Regardless, I find this to be a large part of the value of playing old games. Somehow they can pull these memories out from the back of your brain, memories we thought were long gone. The revisit can be a key to a door that you didn't even realize was locked off. You remember the way the controller felt in your hands, the snacks you ate, the friends you played with, the dumb jokes that probably weren't that funny but you laughed at anyway. The revisit doesn't just remind you of old games. It reminds you of, well, you. A version of you that didn't even know what nostalgia was yet. The you who stayed up way too late and ate frozen Go-Gurts. Did anybody else eat their Go-Gurts frozen? Because I lived off that shit as a kid, man. It was like children's caviar, my most sought-after delicacy. As much as I love remembering Go-Gurt and staying up too late, the revisit doesn't always deliver that magic. Sometimes it turns a little sour, because you can't recreate those old feelings. Sure, you might recall stories or moments, but there's a quiet ache when you realize some memories just won't come back. The revisit is a time capsule, not time travel, and with it comes a longing for that safer, simpler time, which can be a little sad. That's the tricky thing about nostalgia. It's less about the thing itself, and more about who you were when you loved it. You go back hoping to tap into that old spark, but instead, you're reminded of how much has changed. Not just in the world, but in you. Your tastes shift, your emotions evolve, and sometimes, the stuff that once meant everything now feels so distant. Doesn't mean the past wasn't real or meaningful, just means you're not the same person who held the controller back then. And since revisiting my old games, one source of disappointment for me was Rayman 2 on the N64. I played it and felt nothing. Actually worse than nothing. I felt empty. Hollow even. I loved this game as a kid, but despite that, I wasn't having fun. I wasn't flooded with fond memories, and I definitely wasn't feeling the warmth of home. Maybe some games just don't carry that magical ability to trigger nostalgic introspection. It really depends. Different people attach different feelings to different games. Rayman 2 just didn't do it for me. If anything, I'd say the experience was bad. So, was the game always like this, or is it just me? To answer that, I think it is just me. I went into this game expecting nostalgia, not even realizing I had rose-tinted glasses on. I had specific expectations, and the revisit kinda sets you up for that. Totally normal to return to a childhood game hoping for deep feelings and comfort, so the emotional whiplash I felt really sucker-punched me. I had a positive bias going in, and when it didn't live up to that, I felt a little sad. I want to feel that nostalgia, and I want to feel the comfort of home. Rayman 2 made that comfort feel so distant. I mean, it's kind of a dark game for such a cartoony art style, but that's not what made me feel that way. The inability to reclaim the emotions of my childhood self made me realize just how far away they are. It's been years since I played this, at least 15. Coming to this fact was a reality check for me. I am no longer a kid. Grade school's gone. Those friends I worked so hard to impress? Gone. I'm in a brand new world, so far away from the 2000s, and I have evolved along with it. On one hand, I long for the nostalgia, but on the other hand, it's beautiful how I've changed. I've become an adult, I work, I have a relationship, and I'm still changing. I'm only 25, who knows how I'll be when I'm 30. Those 5 years may seem small, but a lot of life happens in that time. The wheel keeps spinning and the clock keeps ticking. I am no longer a kid. Just because we can't always reclaim what we felt from those old games doesn't mean we should resent the present. The beauty of right now is that kids today are playing their own games, sowing the seeds for future nostalgia. The cycle continues, and even if we feel bitter about how far away the past seems, we still need to keep looking ahead. We'll keep changing, hopefully for the better, and we'll keep making new memories. Unless you're already an old, decrepit man, you've still got time to create moments worth reminiscing over. If I were to tell you anything, it'd be this. You can hold on to the past, but don't forget that the present is becoming a memory too. Make it one worth remembering. The nostalgia of the revisit can be bittersweet. We crave the comfort of the past even though we might be misremembering it. Nostalgia is just tricky like that, sorting through a mental library of memories and emotions that aren't always accurate. Sometimes we're not remembering what actually happened, but how we felt back then. That's why it hits so hard. A song, a game, a moment from some blurry era of our lives can suddenly flood us with warmth, or ache, or both. And while our eyes should ultimately be on the future, there's still value in looking back. Revisiting these moments can remind us of who we were, how far we've come, or even what we still need to heal. Old games let us relive those memories. But don't forget to make new ones too. Life doesn't stop moving, and neither should we. I've been Moistfob, thank you for watching. And remember, if you're going through a hard time, you're not alone. Seriously, reach out for help if you need it. Be kind to yourself. You deserve that much.